Hey there and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name's Hannah. I have a husband named Tom and a little over 2.5-year-old son named Eli. I post videos all about being a mom, gentle, respectful parenting, healthy, holistic lifestyle, and much more. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and notification bell down below. So today's video is all about how I gently night weaned my son. This whole process took about 2 months. So for me, it was a timely process. It might not be like that for you, depending on your child's temperament, what you were, feel comfortable doing. But for me, that felt good. I felt like that was a gradual thing, and it wasn't just going from getting milk whenever to no milk at night. Keep in mind that I was kind of learning and trying things as I went, so it may be shorter if you actually implement these changes. Also, when I looked up this topic of night weaning, nothing really resonated with me and how I parented my son. It was just, I felt like it was too harsh, or it would be too much for me to emotionally handle and him. And so I just kind of came up with my own way from doing a little bit of research, taking tips from those videos, and making a plan for how my son is. He's very laid back, but when it comes to nursing, he needed, or his mind was just like blown. He was a huge nurser, like milkaholic, always on the boob. And since the moment he was born, he woke up about every hour and a half to 2 hours. 3 hours was like a miracle. So from that time of being a newborn to all the way up when I decided to start actually night weaning him at 2, that is how he nursed every single night. And if I were to go back, I'd probably do this whole process at about a year and a half, or maybe between a year and a half. So I've broken this video into 2 videos just to make sure I encompass everything and not have this video be super long. So this first video is just going to focus on your mindset going into it and preparing your child for the night weaning, and the following one will be the things I implemented for the actual night weaning process. The first thing you want to do going into this is set correct expectations. Be aware that this is going to be a big change for your child, especially if they are stuck to the boob all night like my son was, and really have an open-mindedness and try to view this change in your child's eyes and not just yours. Also, be really focused on why are you night weaning. For me, it was just getting to the point where I was exhausted all day long from having to nurse him all night. He had teeth, so I was feeling it more than before, and I just was having trouble functioning, and I was losing my temper and becoming very irritable, and that's when I knew that it was time. So I continually reminded myself why I was doing what I was doing. Be sure you are completely ready and committed to do this. Also, keep in mind that this is a process. You may have some nights that it's going to be easier, and some nights that they might kind of digress a little bit or regress. All in all, in the end, I promise it'll be for the good and everything will work out in the end. But go in with the correct mindset and expectations. I've always exclusively breastfed my son, and it was always feeding on demand from day 1. So what I started to implement was having an actual schedule during the day. And for me, what worked was a nurse in the morning, a nurse at lunchtime, and a nurse before he went to bed at night. I just felt, for me, that gave me a peace of mind knowing that he had enough milk for the day. This video is about night weaning, but that's a very important aspect for you all to know, because he was just used to nursing whenever. So I wasn't just going to all of a sudden shut it off at night and have like this, just like no more milk. I wanted it to be more of a structured kind of change, and to where he knew what to expect, and that he also knew when I said, the milkies, no milkies right now, that's what we call them, milkies, that he knew I would stick to my word. So I felt like it was easier to implement a daily schedule first for his sake and mine, and that he kind of got used to me saying, you know, no milkies right now. These are the times we have milk. So that was the first thing I implemented. So we made that daily schedule, and anytime, you know, I warned him ahead of time, like, hey, starting soon, actually I gave him specifics, starting in a week, even though I didn't know, we are going to be only having milk in the morning after your nap and before you go to bed at night. So he, like, I was telling him that for a week just to like plant that seed in his mind. So again, it just didn't come as a shock to him. Next, after we started that and he started to get in the groove of that and really start to know, which it took him about a week. Again, he was older with me doing this, so it might not take that long with a younger baby, but with him being more of a toddler, it didn't, you know, it took about a week and a half for that to really settle in and him to know, okay, this is when I get my milk in the daytime. And as far as the nighttime, we were just having that whenever still. Once we had that down, I started talking about how we were going to start limiting milk at night. And I did this about 2 weeks prior. And along with this, I got a book, and I'll link it down below, and it was called Nursies When the Sun Shines. And it's just all about how they only get milk when the sun's shining. I changed the word nursies over to milkies because that's what my son associated nursing with. But you can put whatever name. But that, he loved that book, and I feel like that made the process so much smoother because he had something to reference instead of just being like not even know what no milk at night meant and then asking to have no milk at night. So in those 2 weeks prior, like I said, we were reading that book each and every night, and my son really enjoyed reading it. He liked it because the kid in the pictures was nursing. He'd never really seen a book with a kid getting milkies like he does, and in that book it really explains, it reiterates the point of milkies are asleep at night and they wake up when the sun is it's sunny outside. So it just keeps reiterating that point in your child's mind, and they also have something visual to see. So I felt like the point and the whole concept really soaked into my son's mind, and I gave that a 2 weeks notice kind of thing because I really wanted to make sure that he could think about that book just instantly, knew exactly what I was saying when I referenced the book later, and we'll talk about that in the second video. The next switch I did was, instead of milk and falling asleep at the same time, I moved his nursing time before bed 30 minutes prior, and I nursed him in a bright lit kind of busy place to make sure he stayed up and he popped off the boob himself. He knew once he popped off and he got up that it was no more milkies, even when we were going to be laying down to sleep. Now, I'm not going to say that every time he was totally okay with this when going to sleep and like he was just like, okay, but a lot of times if he would kind of start to get a little restless, I'd always be there to support him when I was putting him to sleep and say, I understand you really want your milkies. We had our milky time. If I was just there to support him, it was more so just like him kind of whining more so than like crying and full blown like losing his mind, you know. So, and it would only last for a few seconds once I explained everything. That's another point I really want to reiterate to you all, is explain everything. Explain why you're weaning to your child. Explain how it's going to happen. People, I feel like, and I was in this position where I just discredit how much your child knows and absorbs and understands. And so feel free to explain every aspect to them, because the more they know, the easier the process will be. Just like if you're going into a new job, the more you know about the job and what to expect, the easier the transition will be for you to go to that job. So just keep that in mind and really always explain to your child why you're doing what you're doing. and I promise it'll give them a peace of mind and this process will go smoother. I would bring my son in and normally he would get milk in a rocking chair, but since we did have that milk time at 8, instead I would rock him to sleep. So I kind of like just replaced the crutch with rocking, which is way easier to get away from for me and in my opinion than the nursing was. That's kind of how the first half of the weaning process went, was just me preparing my son for the actual night weaning itself, reading that book, getting milk early, having that structured schedule during the day, and being reminded that when milky time was, and kind of replacing the milk going to sleep with rocking going to sleep. Alright, so that was it for the first video of this series. The next one will be all about the actual process, how it went, and everything I implemented during the night. So if you want to see the next one, be sure to hit the subscribe button. It'll be out in a couple days, and I hope to see you there. Please feel free to smash that like button, give it a like if you are in the process of night weaning or looking forward to that long, beautiful 8 hours, almost 8, hopefully 8. Well, if you're like me and you stay up late because you're just like don't even know what to do yourself, now that you can stay up late because you'll know you'll be getting to sleep, just give the video a like for sleep, okay? Give the video a like. I'll see you ladies soon.